and covering of faults. So, what we're saying to the Ummah now is we have this process of integration or reintegration is based on the concept of Ummah, or Ummatism, as one of the great scholars call it. And not rheumatism, but Ummatism. No, Ummatism is actually a real concept, that we are Ummah. If you pray by yourself, you're a good Muslim. But if you pray in Jama'at, with the rest of the Ummah on your area, it's 25 times better or 27 times better. This is a Sahih Bukhari. So, the things we're facing now has actually placed us technically outside of the mainstream. It seems like all of the mainstream is in a flow. I mean, you can see Imam from up in Connecticut. Yeah, that's Connecticut. Last year, he was on Press TV giving a nice talk. He looked very sophisticated, very mature, and what he was saying was reasonable. This year we had our dear Imam from Brooklyn on Press TV. Some of the demonstrations that they're having right now are headed by Medea Benjamin. I spoke with her on the roster several, let's say 5, 6, 7 years ago. In Detroit, that's right, it was in Detroit, at the a Muslim Congress. Yeah, in fact, it was a Muslim Congress program. And she had just wrote a new book about Saudi Arabia. So, what I'm saying is, if you look at all the people that was around, that was working with Answer, when you look up, you'll see and hear them in key spots on radio, on television. They're in key spots around the country, right today. If you look at the imams and leaders, whether they're Sunni or Shia, there's a mentality that all of them, now when we came, we were striving for wahda. DC never had any itikafs. We had itikaf and we was coming together all the time. We had a big itikaf in Masjid Muhammad the whole weekend. And you know what the Muslims were saying? We had different speakers. We was going to show South Central. Remember that? They said we couldn't show it because it didn't have, it didn't come from a shop. They said, you know, like. So anyway, we had that whole weekend. The masjid was full of people. We didn't have time to put everybody on. They didn't know, what are we going to do in a masjid? The whole weekend we said, bring your sleeping stuff. We're going to have lectures. We're going to have all kind of, hey man. And we did that. You should imagine how jealous and how worried the rest of the people around here was. And all the buzz. Y'all getting it together, huh? Y'all the Negroes. You're gonna get out of our orbit. That's dangerous. And pretty soon, 2 Negroes in the organization, one passed away, one we call Chicken Lips. I don't know if you know who that would be, but that's One was supposed to be a Salafi Imam, the other, one of the guys over there. They started an argument between themselves. And at that time, I just put my head like this, because I was not in charge of it. If I would have had any authority, real authority, technically, for some reason, I couldn't stop them. And they wasn't saying nothing about me, they was talking about each other. Number one, Imam Muhammad gave a talk in London or something. He said certain things, and the Salafis said, your Imam said this, that, and another. So the brother said, if you say this about our Imam, we can't work together on nothing. Finished. Okay, now what about us though? Did we make some misprints, some misstatements about all of these type of things? Because we want to find out, why are we excluded from the Ummah? Why is everybody welcome but us? Is there anything on this that we said that was like out of order? We might go so far as to say that everything that we always talked about, I'm sorry, it's just, that's too good of a record. You can't argue with, like they say, you can't argue with a stop sign. You can go out there and you can say, you ain't no stop sign, you don't have no business here, you could do all of that. But it don't change the fact that it is a stop sign, right? You can stop, you can run it, don't make no difference, but that's a stop sign. I said that to say is, everybody that adopted certain ideas, they are within the stream. And the only ones that are not in the stream are us, and we just want to know why and what can we do to reintegrate into the system. The Muslims, you're not alone. No, it's ummatism. So that's our question that we're asking, and this will be on the video. We just want to know, well, where did we go wrong? Because evidently all of those people, they all can't be wrong. I mean, just mathematics. How could all of them be wrong and we be right? That's not normal. If you remember, we had a group called Manna. Manna was set up to start to collect the American Muslims, Muslim Alliance of North America. I heard about it from Ihsan Bagby, and he told me that he wanted us to be a part of it. At first I said, absolutely not. I'm not. I can see what that is. This was my attitude. But Imam Jamil said, hey man, I guess somebody had called him. He was in jail at that time, and he said, why don't you go and hook up with him? I said, sure, no problem. I mean, you're the Imam, so I mean, I'm ready to go. I mean, I don't dislike nobody. Anyway, I'm ready to go. It's almost like hear and obey, no problem at all. And then, but even Imam Jamil's programs, we had a program here, 2 lectures here with, not lectures, there was 2 meetings with Manna here. And one of them we discussed, first of all, this technically is our Masjid, but you know what, I didn't get a chance to speak at that nor the first one in Philadelphia. In Philadelphia, the great white sheikh was there, and a lot of the Negroes. And the great white sheikh had plenty of time, but the great white sheikh said, I have an attachment, so I wouldn't be able to participate in if the titles are too, like if it's an Amir or, something like that, like that's too strong a language, because he had allegiance to someone. So they said, oh, no problem. So the two main guys, one from Brooklyn, the other one from up there in Connecticut, they were almost like, first the Imam from Brooklyn said, Imam so-and-so, I'm ready to give you bayah. And he says, well, they just throwing this ball back and forth, and it can't nobody else, you can't reach out and catch it, you can't do nothing. It's like, hold it just a second. So anyway, they say no and fumble around, and then when it comes to choosing a name, not a name, but when it came to choosing the title of the leader, I think they settled on chairman, not Amir or Imam or anything. That was too heavy for the white sheikh. Well, they call him in Europe the great white sheikh. It was too heavy. Right here, it was a little discussion about something came up about Imam Jamil, and the Imam from Brooklyn said there was $240,000 at that time raised for Imam Jamil. Do you know who raised that? I said, yeah, it had to be me. Because some people went and spoke at programs, but we arranged. See, there's a difference between like the street prayer. They will arrange for him to speak at the program, but he don't organize it. It's similar to many of the people that are on the circuit. They don't arrange the programs, they come and participate. You give them a microphone and they run it. Right? There's an imam down in Carolina. Was it Carolina? When I said that, the brother said he wanted to stop the imam from Brooklyn from responding too quick because he's ready to, he said Imam Musa has a special relationship with Imam Jamil. In other words, we know we've been getting tons of money, cash. I don't know what they did with it, but they got tons of money, cash money. Even the same Imam, we're not on speaking terms. I don't know why. That's why we want to, this reintegration is very important to us because it's very lonely outside by yourself. Don't forget about being right. That's not the point now of making a correct analysis. The point is that we want to be a part of the people. Yeah. That's why I said just relax. Don't worry about what we're saying. Everything, it has a point to it. Down the road, all you got to do is just... So, we want to know what did we do wrong. Like, tell the truth. If we, how many programs, we had at least 4 speeches out in front of CARE, right? Yeah. So we just want to know what did we do. There's Nihad and Ibrahim Hooper there and all the programs. Nihad came here and spoke one time or 2, I don't know. That was common for all of us. Dar Hitler, the center shake-up. We was in the mix. We just want to know what happened because, and what we can do to fix our part. We do say to the people, though, kind words and covering faults. Like, for whatever faults we have, just cover them up. That's Islam. In other words, you don't broadcast the faults. You kind of conceal them if you can. Now, whether it's Muslim Congress, which are mainly Indo-Pakistani brothers, we helped start that. We helped start that. Years ago, maybe around 2005 up to whenever. Yeah, we were the main. For the first 5 years, at least, even more than that, we were the main speakers because they didn't have, at that time, they didn't have nobody that had that was known amongst all of them and the staff. They're forming a unity of Shia organizations and centers, and they did. And we helped as much as we could, but maybe we're wondering how could everybody that was on one side of the fence. I think I remember I mentioned the other day about one of our brothers is the head of a newspaper in Iran right now. And while he was here, you go back 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, maybe 10 years, time goes so fast. They related to me very well, but they also thought maybe so-and-so Imam, maybe from Brooklyn. And every year in September, they have a program at the UN. All the presidents from all over the world, they come and they get a time to speak. That's been used to, the president of Iran would always come, as he did this year, or last year. And they would have 2 big meetings. Number one for Iranians. So just Iranians would come and they would get a little pep talk and they would hand over what they thought would be, you know what I mean? They were Iranians that are here that, if they come, they're not against the revolution, but they're not beating down the door or nothing like that. But, so they're Iranians. Let's call them American Iranians or Iranian American, whatever one you want to call them. And then with Muslim activists, one time we was there, and I was sitting right next to, what's the name out there? Bahraini out there. That's when he first got here. The prayer leader out there in Potomac, he was sitting right here, I was sitting there. We were sitting around a big rectangle table, and so something came up, and the translator said, they asked 5 people to speak, and they didn't ask me to speak, because they don't worry, everybody, everybody knows you already. There's no sense. They had Nihad say something. He talked about, basically, he had a CNN approach when he talked to the president about, they were saying President Ahmadinejad had said there was no Holocaust. He didn't say that. Right. He talked about the numbers. They had the Jewish representative there. They had David Duke, of all people, in Iran. David Duke was there. So it wasn't about the Holocaust, whether they did. It was about the numbers. Are they exaggerated? What's closer to? And they never have said about the over 1,000 people that Iran saved from France. Jews. They gave them phony papers and all that to shoot them out of the, and they saved them. They rescued them. You hear about Schindler's List, he may have saved about 20, 30, right? All of this. One of my friends called it Swindler's List. You know, not Schindler's List, Swindler's List. He's a European journalist. He's probably passed away, a Swiss journalist, a great friend of mine. A lot of people, when they would listen to him talk, he was much older than all of us, but very wise. They said this guy was Hitler Youth, you know, because there was some people, they think he's more German than Swiss, you know. Sometimes when he talk, you can get that, you know, he might have been Hitler Youth, you know what I mean? But anyway, he's a good Muslim now. But anyway, I'm going to try to put all of this together where it makes some sense. Here, everybody is. All the different crews are in harmony, whether they're Sunnis, whether they're Shias. It don't make no difference whether they Mass and whether they Isna, all of them working in harmony together. And everybody is on the bill, except us, everybody. So we just want to know, what did we do wrong? That's a simple question. That's our question today. What did we do wrong? You know, did I ever show y'all the list of drug programs that we had in Oakland? It just had, it's probably right back there, but it talked about drugs. We'd have a program about drugs and their effects on the community, drugs and their effect on society, what the purpose of all of that. Well, one of our favorite brothers up in Brooklyn, he had a so-called, this was the same 1990 period, where he had a run-in with drug dealers up there, so they became known as drug busters. And I told him at that time, I said, y'all walking up and down the street with correctional officers and police at a demonstration in the black neighborhood? I said, no, man, that ain't gonna fly. He spoke over at George Mason years later, or Georgetown, one of them. I forget. But we went over to a program in